Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the pregame cheat sheet. I'm Darren Smith along with Mr. Steve Walls, and we want to welcome you inside the press box here at Arrowhead Stadium where the Chiefs look to kick off in about an hour and a half or so against the Buffalo Bills in week number 6. Of course, this is a big matchup, probably the game of the year thus far, and the NFL got scheduled it early. For whatever reason, we're not quite sure, but this is the lone game on CBS in the late afternoon slot before the Sunday night football game. Steve, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. Kind of pulling double duty. Normally, I'm coaching my son's baseball team, and they're playing in the postseason tournament out at AJ Wilson Park. So I'm just kind of watching on YouTube while we're doing the show, and here at the game.
Well, first of all, good luck to you, Peyton, and to your squad. We're not going to say Steve's a bad parent for being here at the game, but he's got work to do, so that's why we're here. But looking ahead to this game, this is the game that everybody's had circled on their calendar.
Mhm.
People thought Buffalo would be undefeated. I know we probably thought going into this game, Chiefs would be 4-1, 5-0 coming into this game. Both teams 4-1, top two teams in the AFC conference. All prognosticators, except for us, because they didn't ask us our opinion, seem to have Buffalo not only going to the Super Bowl, but winning the Super Bowl as well. Your thoughts on this particular matchup that takes place in just a little over an hour and a half?
Yeah, and it's funny because you said that everyone had this circled on their schedule. I really don't think the Chiefs did. To be honest, I think this is a Super Bowl, so to speak, for the Buffalo Bills.
At
I mean, because you
least a
think
little
about it,
kickback for them.
yeah, I mean, you think about it, it's kind of mirroring Tampa Bay Chiefs, where the Chiefs couldn't
Yeah.
beat Tampa Bay in the postseason no matter what they did.
No, no, you mean New England.
New
New
England,
England.
not Tampa. Oh well, Tom
Tom
Brady,
Brady.
yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I meant Tom
Yeah,
Brady, yeah.
yeah,
So
did
New
it every
England,
time.
and so they were like the nemesis, so to speak. And so when you think about it that way, AFC Championship game 2 years ago to get to the Super Bowl, the Chiefs came out and basically dog walked the
They
the,
did.
the Buffalo Bills. And then you had Stephon Diggs still on the field watching. In fact, rewind to last year, 13-second game.
Yep.
I think that still plays, to the hands of the Buffalo Bills now because they're like, oh, well, we got to do something to be able to figure this out. We've got to bring in Von Miller. We've got to do some different things because that circle that you mentioned on their calendar to beat the Chiefs.
And like you look, you mentioned Von Miller. I mean, they made moves in the offseason to better the roster. They got rid of Cole Beasley.
Yeah.
They brought in Von Miller because they felt like giving Patrick Mahomes even 13 seconds is still too much time.
Yeah.
And so they felt like even though they had the number one ranked defense going into that game last year, Kansas City still found a way to put 42 up on them. And so Von Miller, of course, two-time Super Bowl champion after what he did with the Los Angeles Rams. So he brings that type of championship mentality, that leadership that they were lacking
Hmm.
in Buffalo. And they brought him in for this particular game and perhaps the postseason run. So I don't fault Buffalo for the moves that they made. Kansas City, of course, they didn't sit idly by while other teams in the conference and the division got better. They went and made moves as well. We know about the whole Tyree thing and what they've done in place of them. So I'm liking the chessboard pieces that have been made. And so again, the 325 when it kicks off today, it's going to be very interesting to see how things turn out.
Yeah, and you mentioned Von Miller, and that's like he's the staple, so to speak, in their defense. And
Yeah.
but I still don't think the Buffalo Bills have the best defense in the AFC. I really believe that it's well, it was the Chargers. I really believe when you have Joey Bosa and company, I think they had, and if you remember back, was it week 2 here
Yeah.
in KC?
Thursday night. Yep.
Yeah, their defense dominated that game, and so
And Kansas City still find a way to win.
they still found a way to win. And look, it wasn't because of the offense. It was because Justin Herbert came out and the Chief defense stepped up and helped them, to get the win. But they're 3 games removed from that, and so I think they've taken leaps, to get a lot better as far as the chemistry goes and as far as the offense being able to figure things out. And it's cool because when you think about how they started last year, the 1-4 start, um, or 3-4 start, the 3-4 start, they were basically like everyone was writing this team off. But
Yep.
now they've come to realize like, man, no matter how they start, it's still a long season, and with Patrick Mahomes, anything can happen. And so
Meeting between the two teams, the all-time 5 losses and a tie. looking at this particular game, obviously we know about the quarterback matchup,
Mhm.
Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, but there's going to be keys. Look, there was a stat that I saw where Buffalo has 12 touchdowns by their wide receivers, two by the Chiefs. However, the key to this game could be the tight end because Travis Kelsey, where the Chiefs have 10 total touchdowns by tight ends, zero for Buffalo. What is the key factor element on offense that you see for both teams that should help them try to come out of Arrowhead with the win today?
I think what the Buffalo Bills are going to try to do, they're going to try to do what they do best, throw the ball, get down in the short yardage situations, third, fourth down, possibly. They're going to allow their offense to try to figure it out. They're going to allow their QB to try to run the ball because he's tough to bring down. He's a big guy, 6'5", I believe 250.
That's a
If you
big boy.
ask me, I mean it's tough. And so you think about Stephon Diggs. The good thing about this Chiefs defense is that they were able to see guys like Mike Evans, Mike Williams, Devontae Adams last week. So you're not going to be able to surprise them with anything. Of course, little bit different player, but Devontae Adams is still the best wide receiver in the league. So now that they've been able to see that, especially the young, Joshua Williams,
Yeah.
defensive back for the Chiefs, I think today they're going to be ready.
Now you say that, and for those who've been following along this week, there's going to be Rashad Finn's not going to be playing in today's game. I know you're. Thank you. I'm not sure. I don't think
No.
Brian Cook is playing as well. But the Chiefs going to be without three defensive backs
Yeah.
in this game. They're not going to be without Trent McDuffie's going to be resting another week before they
Hmm.
bring him back before they
Makes
activate him.
sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Like I said, I
Yeah.
mean, win or lose, you go home. You know,
Yeah. No. No. I
Even
get that.
though long term, you think you want to get a win here because
Yeah.
this could possibly mean that you'd have to go
Determine.
to
Yeah. Determine home field
Buffalo.
advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because obviously a lot of people don't see the Chiefs falling off the map like they did last year before having to before they won 8 games in a row,
Yep.
put them back in position. Looking at today's game, of course, Kansas City, Buffalo 3:25 kickoff. Game will be on CBS. It is America's game of the week, so to speak. Steve,
America.
yeah, Steve, looking at this, we've got we got a lot of players that should be when you look at things should be key elements to Kansas City winning this ball game. Last week against the Raiders, we saw the emergence of Marquez Valdez-Scantling. He had 90 receiving yards. Finally got a good game. According to him, got a good game from him. Coming out of that game, we had 4 touchdowns. Kansas City had 4 touchdowns with Travis Kelsey in the team's win. Jerick McKinnon played well. He had the hot hand, and so the Chiefs kept feeding him the ball on offense. Is there anyone in particular when you look at what's expected? Vegas, everybody believes this is going to be a high scoring game if it
Yeah.
mirrors anything. I believe it was
Davis.
Gabe Davis, who had the big game in the playoffs with 4 touchdown passes, 4 touchdown catches. Who do you think steps up for Kansas City that we may not have seen had a big game? Could it be? You think it'd be Juju? Think it might be McCall Hardman finally getting in the end zone, or how do you see this
This
unfolding?
game to me, and I could be wrong, but this reminds me a lot of Kareem Hunt game when everyone wrote the Chiefs off in 2018. Remember
Yeah.
when the New England Patriots came here and Kareem Hunt had what 200
No,
yards
no, that
for
was in New England.
2017? Was it in New
No,
England?
2017, he was a rookie. That was the first game
In New England.
in New
So
England. Yeah.
so I say that
Nobody knew anything
because
about him.
yeah, I say that because we heard Eric Bieniemy talk about running back by committee. Whoever has a hot hand. I think today's gonna be an Isaiah Pacheco game. I really do. You saw Clyde had his day, and it's kind of going in shifts if that makes sense. I mean, you saw Clyde have his day, then you
Kind
saw
of, well, the way you're describing it kind of thinks about the Super Bowl year when Tyree got injured in Jacksonville and all the wide
yeah.
receivers ended up having a
Each
good.
having a day, yeah. So I
Yeah,
think and
okay.
that if that's Andy's MO, I mean that's what I've been seeing over the past few years. So Jerick McKinnon had his day last week, and he's the one actually they got the boost to kind of turn the game around. And so I think today's Isaiah Pacheco's day. I really do. I think this is going to be kind of reminiscent of the Kareem Hunt game. And if you think of just the wide receiver, so Juju had his day before the game before. I think McCole hasn't been in the mix because of the injury, possibly. So this could be McCole day if they're continuing to like, all right, we're going to change things up because you're not going to be able to just key in on one guy.
Steve Walls, Darren Smith with you. This is the pregame cheat sheet sponsored by Gates Barbecue, live at Arrowhead Stadium inside the press box. Getting you ready for kickoff again. Kickoff is at 3:25, CBS, America's Game of the Week. Steve and I will be here each and every week. Of course, next week we are live in San Francisco. Steve, look, let's look at on the defense side of football. One of the things that I think a lot of fans probably take for granted, and we haven't really said his name much, which I think is a good thing. Justin Reed, the acquisition free agent safety that we brought over from Houston to replace Tyrann Matthews. One of the beauties of what we saw last week in that game, especially when it came to the run game, and we saw what Josh Jacobs was doing, was he met force with force. I mean that's that's something that he wasn't worried about making a business decision. Let's
Hmm.
just put it like that. I mean, what have you seen from the defense of the Kansas City Chiefs, starting with a player like Justin Reed?
I mean, when you think about Justin Reed and you brought up Tyrann Mathieu, the big differences between the two. Tyrann's the more the vocal leader. We see it. We saw him, doing the pointing at his head, making key plays. But then you have Justin Reed, who's kind of the quiet assassin, if that makes sense. I mean, if he's the vocal guy, I mean, he speaks to the media once a week.
Yeah.
But if he's more the vocal guy on the field, we don't see it by like his emotion, things like that, because you would know that when Tyrann Mathieu was upset, whether it's Twitter fingers or whether it's emotion out on the
uh,
field, body language, whatever. So I think there's a differences there. But he hasn't really had plays come his way, if that makes sense as well.
yeah.
And so we talked about Juan Thornhill early on in the season where he said that he was going to be having an all-pro season. I
Yeah.
mean, he's playing well so far to me. The interceptions haven't been there for him, but I think he's doing well. Now you got guys like the cornerbacks, Joshua Williams, who we talked about, Justin Watson, those
Jerry
guys,
Sneed.
L'Jarius Sneed. L'Jarius Sneed has 2 sacks on the season, but I think he's not going to sneak up on anybody anymore,
Yeah.
especially because he's been asked about it. So, I mean, this defense is, to me, they're better than expected. They're ahead of schedule, if that makes sense. Still no Willie Gay. But you had another guy, Darius Harris, who's a veteran in the league that's been stepping up, that had led the team in tackles the past 2 weeks.
If I remember, Willie Gay comes back next week,
Comes
correct?
back next week.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been in the he's
Yeah.
been
Suspended. Yeah,
yeah, he's
he's
been
been
in
the
this
last
in
two
the
weeks.
facility the past 2 weeks. So
So the
Darius Harris has been I guess a surprisingly great addition to this team.
So if Kansas City can pull this win out, I mean, obviously you think about the players that you get, but you already get players back from injury, so to speak, who just sit at this game. But you get
Hmm.
back McDuffie, you get back. We just mentioned the guy's name, and just yeah,
Who?
just who we just talking about?
Willie
Injured
Gay.
Willie Gay. You get him
Yeah,
back. So now, I mean, that defense gets better.
yeah, they do.
And people talking about, well, Kansas City, I mean, because considering the fact that you haven't had two of your starters for the first, over the last 3, 4 weeks, says something about and the way that Kansas City's been
And one
playing.
guy that I didn't mention is Frank Clark.
I was just about to
Frank was
mention
off to
his
having a
name.
great game last week. And then I guess there was some stomach issues that he's been dealing with. I'm not sure. And he said it's something that he's had to learn how to manage throughout his career. And maybe whatever it is, the flare up or whatever he's having, there's something serious there that they're really not saying.
Could be Air Mark Food. I'm not sure. Let's hope that it's
No
not.
shots, no shots fired.
You can always go to Gates Barbecue. Look, but seriously, looking at this game, one of the keys is going to be how much pressure can you get on Josh Allen. He's
Yeah.
a big boy. He's not afraid to run the football, so I think he's second behind Lamar Jackson in rushing for a quarterback. So I mean, we saw last year that Kansas City had a kind of have a hard time getting after the quarterback and bringing them down. Especially we saw what Joe Burrow was able to do. Coming off of last week's game against the Raiders, we saw the big play that Chris Jones had where they called roughing the passer.
Hmm.
How much of a factor do you think that might play in today's game in the back of these players' mind when you try to go after, bring a Josh Allen down, Patrick Mahomes runs out, somebody tries to tackle, bring him down? How much of what took place last week between Chris Jones and what took place in Tampa Bay with Tom Brady do you think this might have an effect on how the defense and how the players react to try to bring these quarterbacks down today?
You know what? I've been thinking about that all week. Just the fact of the psychological aspect of it. from Chris Jones' point of view. But I think Spags, the Chiefs defensive coordinator, I think that he's going to keep. If I'm the coach and I'm Spags, I'm saying keep doing what you're
Yeah,
doing, man.
that I mean that's
Don't
my man. Yeah, you just
don't worry
we'll
about
worry about
that.
the fines. We'll worry about
Yeah, don't
whatever.
worry about any of that stuff because at the end of the day, you want to keep being aggressive because when you're not, that's when bad things happen,
Yeah,
right? Like when you stop having that aggressive nature, when you get to the quarterback, oh, I don't want to hit him. No, you do what you need to do because this is a dog eat dog, a dog eat dog game. NFL, people are working for jobs, they're working for checks. So at the end of the day, shoot, if you don't, you're gonna get that hat brought to you, and that's something that you don't want because remember when Josh Allen leaped over Ladarius
hey
Sneed?
man. First of all, I don't know it's the spirit, 'cause that's exactly where I was going, and you took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah,
But go
so
ahead.
if you
That's
don't,
funny.
you're gonna get embarrassed. So I
That's
think
funny.
I think before if I'm Chris Jones, before he embarrasses me, I'm gonna embarrass him.
That's funny because I was going there. I was because I was going to switch over to Buffalo and their offense and bring up
And there was
that
I
exact
can't remember, it was
situation.
earlier this season when Josh Allen went to run and he ran over a guy, got up and was laughing about it.
Yeah.
Like because he understands like they're not gonna try to hit me as hard as they can because they're worried about that. So if I'm on the defensive side of the ball, no, I'm not letting up anything. I'm continued. They need to make a phone call to
New York.
what's the cat that was in Pittsburgh that always used to hit guys really hard.
Mike Fitzpatrick, Minka,
Minka Fitzpatrick, those guys. And I'm thinking of the other guy, the bald head guy, dark James
James
Harrison.
Harrison.
You
Okay.
give James Harrison a call.
Whew.
See how he used to bring the pain. So I think you got to continue to figure it out. But that being said, on the defensive side, since we're still talking about defense, Spags has to look at what Bill Belichick used to do. As far as he was able to take away the great things that guys were able to do, pinpoint exactly
Yeah, but the flip side is
what
you
you
got to
do
have the
well, take it away.
personnel for that, and not only the personnel, you got to have the discipline to stay with it.
Yeah,
And that's I mean I just don't know because see, the thing is Kansas City, in my opinion, they find themselves generally behind the eight ball because they generally like to defer the toss and allow the other team to to start off on offense. Now, for me again, it's just a philosophy. I just respectfully disagree. I just think that again, if you feel like you have the dominant offense, you put your team on the field first and make
yeah.
the other team. You come down to score, make the other team play from behind. Because what happens is their scripted plays might have to be thrown out the window because you're on top. And I just for the life of me, I know. Chiefs Hall of Famer Neil Smith agrees with me, but
No, but even
bring that up
to that
every
point
time.
though, and we talk about that all the time. But I think it's just how you
But it's
start,
also momentum.
how you
It's also
start though,
momentum.
because Andy Reid's came into the league. He's always deferred. Like you don't want to even their Super Bowl year, right? You always deferred. So why switch up now?
No, no. I mean, look,
You
I
don't.
agree.
That's just to me.
It's the preference, but I also think that it doesn't. It could be a preference, but it's also gamesmanship depending on who you play.
Do you know if you wash your face first or brush your teeth first? Which one you do?
Just depends.
On what?
I don't know.
You put your left foot shoe on first or right foot? But
Whichever one is closest. Whichever one is closest.
some people do it the exact same way every
But
time.
think about it. Every time we played, the team has played in tennis Nashville, they've
Yeah.
lost the game. I mean, and one of the things is what happens, they get the ball, the Chiefs kick the ball off instead of receiving the ball. Tennessee goes down and score. Now you're struggling to catch up, and then you get Derrick Henry run like with a full locomotive, or whatever. Now you find yourself down
But
21,
again,
27-3.
again,
It's hard to come back from that.
you got a
And
superb
yeah,
offense
but now look, but yes,
with that dude out there.
but
You,
I
you
was gonna
know,
say because you can find yourself down 17-0 against the Raiders. You find
yeah.
yourself sent down like that to this team, you'll end up having a 38 or whatever the score was last year, 38-20 embarrassment on NBC.
But you still anything goes when you got that
No, no,
dude, man.
I get it, but that dude last year was throwing interceptions and was throwing all over the
But
place too.
it's been 3 years. It started when Houston. What was it, 24-0 or 24?
20, I think 21-0, 23-0.
Some
Yeah,
20-0
it
somewhere in
was
there.
bad.
So that was 2019. Then 2020, you got down on a couple teams. 2021, you were down. So, I mean, there's a pattern of, all right, no matter what the deficit is, we're going to come back. Yeah, at least have a fighting chance.
All except for that Super Bowl.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
True.
and but
But you
also
got a different dude, though. That's,
you got Mahomes and Brady. But the other flip side is that you don't want to keep going back to that well.
yeah.
Because again, just because you got the dude, first of all, you shouldn't be down because you got that dude. You should be up.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. I mean, if
Yeah.
you got that dude, why are you behind?
Sometimes you
So
sleepwalking. You got to wake up.
no,
You got
I'm
to
saying,
wake them
but
up.
if you're always behind, that's a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Because if Mahomes can only turn it on in the fourth quarter, well, what the hell are you doing the first three quarters?
Yeah, I agree. Don't get me wrong. I agree with you.
Okay. See,
But not kicking off the ball first. I mean, not.
end
You
the
got
show
to
with that.
defer. That's my thing.
Big news though for Kansas City. I know we haven't talked about it. I apologize for not bringing it up, but the Chiefs get back Harrison Butker in today's game.
Hmm.
Obviously, we know that's a
Hmm.
very valuable asset to this team. How big of an impact do you expect from Butker?
I had some conversations with people yesterday, just about Harrison Butker coming back, and I said these words exactly. Don't expect him to be the same Harrison Butker that he was when he was, in rhythm. When he had the hot hand. Don't expect because look, if he's been down and they were like, oh well, he's getting paid this amount. He's the world's fifth best place kicker, whatever.
Not the
He's
world's
in the
fifth
top.
best.
He's in top five or however they said it. And I'm like, I get it, but like, if guys, you always hear the guys say the live bullets, live bullets. We need the live bullets, meaning we need game speed, game repetition. You can't have game speed at the practice facility, right? You can't have game speed, kicking at whatever high school he's working out at. So I think, I think he's got to get back in rhythm to be able to kick what we saw the kid do last 59 yarder. He's got to, and don't get me wrong, I know Harrison Butker can take the one step and kick it, but he's still got to get that back in rhythm. And he was in rhythm when he was able to do the one step too. So I think he'll be fine, but you want to get him to get a couple extra points under his belt. Don't have him go out there and kick no 40, 50 yarder off the jump, right? Because I think it's gonna take him a little more time to get in rhythm.
Chiefs kickoff in just a little bit over an hour from now against the Buffalo Bills here at Arrowhead Stadium. Obviously, still got time to get to the game,
Hmm.
enjoy the tailgate, park, what have you. You also have time to still go by Gates Barbecue, 5 locations around the metro area. Get you a pregame meal. Tell them Steve and I sent you. They'll take good care of you. They'll make sure you got the best of the best. Um,
Get the what my go-to, either get the burn in or get the beef on bun, or sometimes it doesn't even have to be noon, and I'm getting a nooner. But
yeah.
just say go in, say all beef nooner, and they'll take care of you. Heavy on the sauce too, crispy fry too. Oh, with a strawberry drink too.
Put some sweet and mild sauce.
Exactly.
Um, look, one of the things that I want to look at and talk about is the coaching aspect.
Hmm.
Obviously, they're led by Sean McDermott. The defensive coordinator is a Leslie Frazier.
Yeah.
Again, superb former head coach. You look at Andy Reid on this side of the football on this side of the sidelines, along with Eric Bieniemy. I think it comes down to a coaching matchup, and I think we may have mentioned it at the beginning. We may have talked about it off air,
Hmm.
but who makes the mistake first? Who makes the coaching? Your thing is who makes the mistake first. My thing is who's able to steal an extra possession,
Hmm.
whether it's faking a punt, trying to go for it on fourth down when normally you would punt the ball off. How do you see? Where do you see either team being able to steal that extra possession or to get the other team to make a mistake?
Every possession is key, right? So I think you got to figure out if your defense is better than their offense on the Chiefs from the Chiefs' point of view. How can my defense come up with some turnovers? Because like I said, they're ahead of schedule. They figured it out. The defense has won this team a lot of games.
Yeah.
Not even this season. I'm talking about looking back towards last
To
season when
Super
they
Bowl,
were.
from the Super Bowl season, correct?
Yeah, yeah. So this defense and Steve Spagnuolo, they've they figured it out. And just thinking about that, geez, Steve Spagnuolo was a great addition to this team. But that being said, I think it's going to be on the Chiefs defensive side that has to figure out how to steal that extra possession, cause a turnover. And on the Buffalo Bills, I think it's going to be Josh Allen that's going to try to use his legs to get that extra possession,
Yeah.
especially fourth down and short yardage situation because. got to remember the Chiefs struggle with the top wide receivers most of the time. Even going back to I hate doing it, but going back to last year with Jamar Chase, um, and the adjustments that need to be made. And so I think when you look at it from that point of view, Josh Allen's going to say, all right. You're going to think I'm going to try to beat you deep? Well, no, I'm going to use my legs and make, one of these linebackers have to come and make a superb tackle.
Think for the Chiefs, they're going to have to get pressure from their tackles, which includes Chris Jones. 'Cause if you just try to focus on the edge, as you mentioned, Josh Allen can just run right up the middle.
Oh,
And
he sure
and
can.
look, it's going to be this is going to be one of those. I think today's game is going to be one of those. I'm gonna challenge your manhood days, and I think it's going to be
Mm,
one of those things where Josh Allen going to get introduced once again to Nick Bolton, and I think today could be a good coming out party if you're Nick Bolton because, like you said, people are going to expect Josh Allen to be able to get some runs off. But if Bolton can, keep his eye on him and keep him contained,
mm.
I think that will also go a long way for Kansas City.
I agree. I agree. Especially, he's the leader, so he's got the green dot. He's calling the plays out there on the defense. So, and he likes to hit.
he does. He
And
does.
I mean, and he likes to hit. So I think, and being in coverage, he's good at that. But Darius Harris as well.
Yeah.
Darius Harris, like I said, he led the team in tackles last week. So he's got the confidence. He understands that what he's able to do.
Chiefs are just about an hour away from kickoff.
Hmm.
Steve, when we look at this matchup, another thing that one thing that Buffalo's able to do, they're able to quiet the crowd again, and that's my biggest concern. I think everything starts and ends with this coin toss, and
Hmm.
obviously, whoever wins the coin toss, I expect the other team to defer, and we'll see who gets started. But how big is this crowd going to be? Because look, we thought initially that Monday night game
Hmm.
last week, crowd's going to be a factor. Raiders ain't going to be able to get up. They up 17-0. Now it wasn't until the pass interference call where it seemed like everything just switched
Hmm.
because Patrick was getting pressured, he was getting sacked left and right. We saw Orlando Brown and Andrew Wiley like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah.
Patrick got in their face and said, hey, we're gonna win or lose this game based off of what you all do. So seeing all that, seeing how everything turned out, how big of a factor is today's crowd and the loudness of it going to be a factor in helping this team win?
I think it's a huge factor. I mean, this is Arrowhead. That's what it's known for. It's known for it being loud.
Teams used to fear coming here because they would
It
be like,
did.
you can't.
It did. But now I think it's more of teams that travel, right? Like, I mean, my top three teams that I feel like in the league that travel right now are Buffalo, Minnesota, and Green Bay. Buffalo's here today. You got Bills Mafia. They like to do a lot of traveling. They tailgate. I think today's game you may be looking at a 60-40.
Huh?
I think so, a
I don't know
60-40
about
split.
60-40.
I think a lot of these
I
tickets are
think they
being
have, I
sold.
think they have a good contender, but I'm not.
I, I'm, I'm
I'll say 75-25, but that's
I
because
don't know,
60-40
man.
is a huge.
I think it may be they travel, man. And you got to remember this is their Super Bowl. They're looking to come to Kansas City. Just walking around the parking lot doing sauce crew with Gates earlier. It's you see a lot of Bills fans. I'm yelling 13 seconds to everybody, and so yeah, for every put it to you this way, for every two cars or three cars full with Chiefs, there's just as many Buffalo fans that are right there. So and there was and also one of the things I did notice out in the parking lot was there was not a group of Chiefs fans without at least one or two Buffalo fans, if that
Mm.
makes sense. So that's why I'm saying like it's going to be possibly 60-40. So when you guys are watching it on camera today, be looking for the fans. But now, don't get me wrong, Chiefs Kingdom, they'll be rocking, and especially if this team gives them something to apply for.
Gotta ask you before we go to the keys and before we pick our winners. I mean, is there one player, an X factor, so to speak, on each team that fans should watch out for in today's game? Who's your X factor?
I think for the Bills, it's going to be Stephon Diggs. Like I said, back in 2 years ago, Super Bowl year 2019. Remember, Stephon was still out on the field when the confetti was coming down, when the announcer was saying that the Chiefs are going to Miami for the Super Bowl last year, 13-second game, right? Stephon was out there like, man, how did this happen? Like we were supposed to win this game. So I think he in his mind is I haven't been able to get over the hump and have these good games, or even if I am able to have a good game, we haven't been able to finish it. So my good game doesn't mean anything. I need to do whatever I can do to help this team win. So I think he's going to be that X factor in getting the win. Now on the Chiefs side of the ball, I think it's going to be Patrick Mahomes. Even though it's like, oh, well, Patrick has to have a good game, whatever, whatever. But remember, in the back of his mind, he's like, oh, y'all didn't pick us. Nobody, our back is up against the
Yeah, y'all
wall.
saying this guy's better, is a better
Yeah,
quarterback
yeah.
than me.
So I think it's gonna be him that has to come out there and have a game. But and can I give two? Because
Well, you're going to
yeah,
anyway.
yeah. Can I give two?
Go
And
ahead.
I think it's gonna be the Chiefs offensive line as a whole. I
Mm,
think they have to
that's a good
play.
one.
They have to play well. I mean, we talk about good defense, Devon Miller and company, Orlando Brown rolling out the red
That's a
carpet
good.
last week.
That's a
So I
good.
think this offensive line has to come to play today.
That's a good. That was going to be my X factor when it comes to the Chiefs, that offensive line. Because again, saying the shots were fired going into Tampa Bay by Shaquille Barrett,
Hmm.
and to me, I think they met the challenge, but didn't let their foot off the gas
Yeah.
against the
And I
Raiders.
don't understand why. Why?
That's
Like
what
why?
I can't.
Because
I can't.
this offensive line was a new group last year. They did well. You had a bunch of rookies, and I
And
get it.
and I do think Trey Smith being out of the game last week
Yeah, but they didn't
had
know until game time, though.
yeah, yeah.
So unless there was something that he saw on film, it was like, oh, we're able to get after. But again, guys always try to play mind games. Knowing that these guys are good, they're still going to come out there and say that they're trash. So I don't look too much into that.
I think the X factor for me when it comes to Buffalo is Devin
Hmm.
Singletary. They don't run as much as you would, as teams probably do, and I think that could either be good for good for the Chiefs or bad. If they're able to run the football, that's going to be bad for the Chiefs because that's going to help their passing game. Because again, I think last week, or it may have been last week, Josh Allen had like 400 plus passing yards against Pittsburgh, and didn't have to. I mean, they had to run the football.
Yeah.
So I mean, granted that's not a real strength. Obviously, Josh Allen is their strength, but you want to put them in passing situations where he has to, versus just doing it because hell, I don't
Hmm.
need to run. I can just throw it all over this defense now.
Hmm.
Obviously, the flip side is the cornerbacks for Kansas City. How I think outside of little L'Jarius Sneed and Juan Thornhill, they wasn't here back in January for this matchup. So how would they, especially after what they did last week against the Raiders? And people say, I mean, granted, Devontae Adams had 3 catches, but it was 124 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
If that last one is considered a catch, he puts him in position to possibly win the football game. So looking ahead, looking at that, if you're this Chiefs defense again, you talked about the defensive backs. How do they play? Because Diggs is a different type of receiver than Adams.
Hmm.
Adams is the big guy. Diggs isn't, but he's fast. I mean, he's fast, and he can play. He can play anywhere along the line. Obviously, Gabe Davis coming back as well. He had been injured. I think there's another one. McKenzie, I think his name is. Yeah, Isaiah McKenzie. So they have a lot of offensive firepower, and to that extent, I want to see how Patrick utilizes his receivers today. Will he take any shots down the field? Will he dink and dunk? I mean, look, and I'm fine with it. I mean, it's been successful, and obviously, not having Tyreek Hill will force you to adjust how you play. So, those are kind of questions slash X factors that I'm looking to see have answered today.
Yeah, I agree, especially the taking shots down the field. I think he will. I think that the big thing about it, and we talked about, who it being a rotating, be the man, type season. I think if that's the case, looking at shots down the field, Nicole is going to be. I mean, the questions have been asked. Why isn't Nicole getting the ball? Well, because he's injured. Well, we've talked about it. If he's out there
Yeah,
and it's the
you out there,
agreement, then you should be able to be 100%.
but also to that point, I mean, we look, we keep talking about MVS and Juju to an extent, but MVS is 6'3", 6'4", runs a 4.3. I need to see some of that on display. I
Yeah.
need to see some separation between he and these defenders. So when Patrick throws the ball up, you can have some separation. If nothing else, you can actually get the jump, get the jump off. That's what, to me, those are some of the questions that I need to see answered in today's game. And Juju, I mean, he's been dropping a lot of passes. I know
Hmm.
we ain't really said much about it. I know I have. I know I've talked about it, but he's dropping a few way too many passes for my liking.
But and you got to remember too, Tyreek is a different kind of speed. To where we talked about, Tyreek. I
I
mean,
get that,
the
but then
offensive
that comes,
line.
but then that comes back on Patrick having to be more accurate because you can't.
Well, the offensive line hasn't given him that much time to be
Facts,
able to just get
facts.
down there and I mean throw the ball
You
up,
know,
run
yeah,
your
it all plays. Yeah,
run
it
your
all plays a
run
role.
your 4-3-4-4 or whatever. I still need a little bit of time because even when he's on a rollout, if they can't create separation, it doesn't matter. Like that rollout that he was doing and just chucking it, that was all Tyreek.
Yeah,
I mean, granted, yeah, it was a great play, great throw, but that was still Tyreek going up and getting the ball because some of those were underthrown. If you remember Tyreek coming back, getting it with the stop and then going, that was all Tyreek.
yeah. Kansas City Chiefs host the Buffalo Bills. 3:25 kickoff here at Arrowhead Stadium. Darren Smith, Steve Walsh with the pregame cheat sheet. See if it all comes down to this. I know everybody's been wondering who are we picking. I think we both got Kansas City in this game. I know we had our picks and our scores Tuesday on the Red Hour. But if you've forgotten it, that's fine. I kind of forgot mine. I kind
No,
of
I got I know
got in a
mine.
different direction. But how's this game play out? Who wins the game?
I think the Chiefs win this game. Remember, their back is against the wall. Like,
Nobody
um,
expects them to win there. I mean,
nobody
the national media, everybody's
nobody expects them to
picking
win, which
Buffalo
is it had me scratching my head. It's like, really? You guys don't remember these guys have been AFC Championship game
last four
year after year
years.
after
Yeah,
year after year, won the AFC West.
sent
And
Buffalo home the last
yeah,
few
so
years.
they haven't not shown that they can win games this season.
Yeah,
If they haven't come out and said, "Oh, we're winless, we're the Raiders," or "We're looking like the Denver Broncos," no, they've come out and showed that they're. You only play who's on your schedule,
facts.
right? The teams that are playoff contenders, the Tampa Bays, the Los Angeles Chargers, they beat those teams. So that being said, I think the Chiefs are going to come out here and do what they need to do, and it's going to be a close game. I think the Chiefs will get them by a touchdown. I'm saying 31-24, somewhere in there. I think they'll get them by a
And
touchdown.
24. Whoa,
Yeah.
okay, that's a lot. That does hit the over. Um, I've got 42-36.
Mm.
See what I did there? That's
Yeah.
the same score from.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's good, but I do expect a lot of high scoring game. The question is going to be, you know, the the Chiefs can strike quickly, and we have seen Buffalo be able to do the same. So I'm going to see how much if a team is down, how long it takes them to come back and
Hmm.
do a quick strike, so they can save time on the clock for them to come back around in case the defense can't stop the other team from scoring. So
But you had an over on that because that's not 6.5.
no, the over is 54
Oh,
points.
it's 50. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and the spread is 2.5.
Oh, okay.
And the Chiefs are in. That's the other thing too. I think with the Chiefs being underdog, I don't know how much of that plays a factor in their mindset. Oh, I mean, as you talked about, Patrick looking for any little thing. First time in his career that he's an underdog at home.
Yeah.
Does that play? And so we'll get a chance to see for the first time how does that affect his play? Does he, in the back of his
I
mind?
mean, not the first time. I mean, they played
No,
like
no, no,
the.
at home.
Yeah.
Being an
I mean,
underdog at home. No, this is the first time he's been an underdog at home to an opposing team.
no, no. They remember we talked about the Tampa Bay, Tom Brady coming in here. That
No,
playoff game when they
I
lost.
don't know. You
The
talk about the Patriots.
Patriots. Yes,
Yes,
Patriots coming in here.
Chiefs were the favorite in the game.
Were they? I didn't
Yeah,
think they were.
they were favorites.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I had to
they
go
were.
back and look at that because I
They
didn't think they
were
were.
the favorites in the game.
Yeah, no, I didn't think. I honestly didn't think they were.
No,
They okay.
Chiefs had the best record. I mean, they
All right.
were. Patrick was MVP. They
Okay.
home field advantage, Arrowhead, night game. They
Yeah.
had it didn't go in their favor.
Okay.
They didn't have
All
no
right.
Kareem Hunt.
All right.
So that being the case, but I've got Kansas City winning this game. I got them in the over. I just think the key is going to be again, like I said, how quickly can Kansas City get on the board, or if Buffalo gets on the board first, how soon can Kansas City answer whatever strike they come back and do? And then, because you don't want to be in a situation where they quiet the crowd. Because again, last year when they came in, they blitzed Kansas City so fast that, Sunday
Yeah.
Night Football, they didn't know what hit them. And
Yeah.
then Patrick, every time they try to come back, there'd be interception or fumble or something
Yeah.
that was causing them to fall further and further back. So, look, man, this is gonna be a good game, man. It's gonna be a big game. The atmosphere is playoff like. I'm not gonna say Super Bowl, but it is playoff like here
Hmm.
in Kansas City, and so. Um, I look forward to it. I think Kansas City will pull it out, and at the end of the day, they'll show. Now, my biggest fear is that Kansas City wins this game and then travels to San Francisco next week and lays an egg. We don't want that to happen. So,
Yeah.
but you just take the team, take the game that's ahead of you or that's in front of you, and do what it do. So, I got Kansas City win this game.
Okay. I mean, we both have Kansas City this time, just for the ball game.
Time for them, of course, back us up. We out here.
Hmm.
Steve, before we get out of here, as usual, we promised we didn't coordinate the gray and the red and stuff, but Steve, who styled you today?
Oh, my friends out at Dillard's on the Rosa, go talk to Heather. In the men's suits. She'll take care of you. You can ask for Heather. She told me make sure you tell them come see me. So yeah, so the homecomings, the crew has come through. I think there may be one or two more homecomings around the area the next week or so. So if you have some young ones who's still in high school, make sure you can go talk to Heather. She'll get their suit game right, get them a little tie, maybe some slacks, something to wear to homecoming. Or if you're a lady or a guy looking for get your lady something, go grab them a purse or I mean they have cologne. Christmas time is coming. Make sure, see what I did there. Make sure you go get them that gift. So and they also have Chiefs apparel too. So if you're in a pinch, you need to go grab you something for the game. You don't have to look at Dick's. You can go right over there to Dillard's on the Rosa.
Also, send a special thank you to Todd White and Todd's Clothing and Taylor Suits, making sure that they got me right for pregame dress wear. Of course, you can stop out there. Two locations, 21st and Broadway, along with Ward Parkway as well. I know a lot of people have been going there. I had people text me yesterday, hey, damn it, we going by Todd's, whatever, wedding and stuff. We got to go get suited and stuff. Appreciate you all going out there providing business to them and, tell them that I sent you as well. But also, before we get out of here, remember, you got about 45 minutes before kickoff. Still got time to run to one of five locations.
Ooh,
Gates Barbecue. Yeah, got us some baked beans. Got the food right here. Always take care of us for our pregame meals. Make sure you go out there. Five locations around the Kansas City metro area. Best barbecue in town. If you're at Arrowhead, and of course, before the game tailgate and stuff, and you got some Gate sauce, Gate seasoning or whatever. If my man Steve Walls and this crew, his sauce crew, come through and see you out there with the Gate sauce, might have a little something for you.
yeah, get your picture taken with the sauce bottle. Have your video on social media blasted. So yeah, I'm hungry. I'm ready to get some gates in
I
me.
know I got to feed this man. We got to feed this man before we get out. But in all seriousness, following the game, make sure you turn to our respective platforms. Steve and I will bring you a post-game analysis from the field after it's all said and after we go to the locker room, speak to Andy Reid, stuff like that. So I want to thank you all very much for joining us on the pregame cheat sheet for Steve Walls. I'm Darren Smith. Make sure you follow us on social media at Steve Walls KC, at Darren Smith WHB. We'll see you post-game, and we'll see you next week in San Francisco. And make sure you join us tomorrow night, Monday night, for the Red Hour. Steve Walls, myself, DJ Q, Sean Tyler at the Soray Steak and Oyster House. And we look forward to talking Chiefs football with you at that time. Until then, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you post game.